Kenya is the world's largest supplier of cut flowers, earning the country about 43 billion shillings in 2012. But consumers are increasingly demanding for environmentally friendly products, pushing Kenya to develop a carbon emission toolkit, said to be the first of its kind in the world.
Most of what we have are just carbon calculators, which just look at emissions. They do not look at water and they do not look at energy. Neither do they look at the opportunities available, because this calculator is also looking at the opportunities. You know, once you've seen, it's called a carbon resources reduction and opportunities toolkit. You know, so the opportunities bit is that once you've established that you are using, for instance, a lot of energy, you're using diesel and you're using water from a borehole, what are the opportunities? The opportunities here is where now you come up and say, I'm going to install a solar water heater, or I'm going to install solar PVs, I'll use a wind generator.
So what we're doing is giving them information that they can use in their calculation of their own carbon footprints. So we're basically working with our partners in the marketplace to help them to communicate their sustainability indexes, because this is what you're looking at ultimately. So we're working collectively, and the fact that we can communicate the sustainability levels of the Kenyan flower industry means that we should be able to endear ourselves to the marketplace, to the end consumer, that despite the fact that we're a distant supplier, that we are also a responsible producer.
Data collected by the Carbon Reduction Toolkit focuses on energy and water usage on the flower farms. It also monitors waste management.
When you dispose waste, or if you leave it, it produces a gas called methane. And methane has got about 21 units of carbon. You know, so those farms that are not doing anything about the waste disposal, they're even emitting more carbon, you know, in form of methane. But there are those who are converting that waste into biogas, therefore reducing the amount of methane. So given the water, energy, and the waste disposal, we can easily quantify and say at the end of this month, PJ Davis Flower Farm has produced this much carbon.
Though information on global carbon emission is scant, studies suggest Kenya, East Africa's biggest economy, is a low emitter by international standards.
We have calculated our carbon footprint at Oserian. We did that about 6 years ago when a university undertook a comparison between Kenya flower industry and the Dutch flower industry. And Oserian was a farm that was used for that assessment in Kenya, and it was found that our carbon footprint is actually 6 times lower than a typical Dutch farm. And that's because we grow under the sun, and of course Oserian, we use geothermal energy, which is clean, sustainable energy.
We also know that from statistics again, that Africa, Kenya indeed, is a low carbon emission destination to the tune of only 1 ton per capita, compared to other industrialized countries like China, where their emissions are up to 60 tons per capita of CO2, and countries like the US, where it's well over 30 tons per capita. So we are a low emitter, and we're not concerned about our emissions at all. What we want to have here is a tool that allows us to communicate, a tool informed by science, a tool that international standards can understand.
Flower farms have been slow to adapt the toolkit, which took about 2 years to develop. But growers stand to benefit from knowing about managing their emissions.
By reducing our carbon footprint, by watching what we are using, what we are taking out of the environment, we are able to actually make business sense. Because if you're putting out too much, or if you're abstracting too much and not getting enough out of that, then of course you're probably wasting. Like, you know, managing your water use, managing your energy use, you're doing exactly what you need to do, and not too much more and not too much less, because everything costs money. Abstracting water costs money, using energy costs money. You know that we're talking about fuel, we're talking about electricity, all that. It's very important to manage that. So if you have a tool that you can actually use to manage your carbon and to track your progress, then you're actually able to make business sense.
Armed with information on its carbon footprint, Kenya's floriculture will be more competitive on the international markets and also fetch higher earnings.
You know, now this market, they normally believe that when you are certified with a certain a body like MPS, then that is a free ticket to selling to the supermarket. But with this toolkit, it will be able to give us the data, the exact data of what we are inputting. Rather, it will be far much better, and it will be easier for us to be certified either with MPS, with the other certification body, because we shall have everything on board.
What it will benefit Kenya, what it will benefit the growers is in terms of enhancing the competitiveness of the Kenya flour industry. And it's also a tool that we're going to use to inform our communication strategy, our communication activities, to communicate to our partners and our peers that indeed the flour industry in Kenya is a sustainable industry, that the flour growers in Kenya are responsible growers, and that they're working together with their international partners in ensuring that we reduce the amount of pollution that goes into our common airspace.